Hey everyone, it's Jeff. As we continue along on our podcast, Lora and I would love to touch on some topics that are near and dear to your hearts. So if you have anything that you want to hear us talk about, if you want to get Laura's unique perspective on some of the things that you might be dealing with or some things that your loved ones might be dealing with, we would love to hear about those things. Please send us an email. mail.sowhatwhocares@gmail.com is the best way to do that. Or you can send us something on social media through our DMs or a comment or something like that. But we'd love to hear from you. It's important to us to make sure that we are touching on the things that are important to you. Please, again, reach out to us. And while you're there, subscribe, like, and comment. Okay, enjoy the episode. Hey, welcome back to So What, Who Cares? We're here.
We are here.
Here we are.
Yay.
We have been going through a couple questions that have been sent in to us. Questions, comments, that sort of thing, and sort of addressing those and letting it sort of flow however we feel. Doing our best to answer these questions. These questions come to us through either messages through our social media or through our email address, mail.sowhatwhocares@gmail.com. If you want to send something in for us to talk about, you should do that. We'll keep you anonymous unless you're like, hey, say my whole name, first, last, middle, social security number. We'll do that too. Maybe
what they want, they get.
Yeah. Our listeners get what they want. This person, good morning or afternoon or good night.
Hi.
Laura.
Good to see you.
Welcome back to this.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
All right, so let's get into this episode's question.
Okay.
Or this is more of just a statement about a scenario.
Okay.
To be talked about. It doesn't have a question mark. It's just kind of, this is the way that this person experiences life. And I think they're wanting some, I don't know, some insight.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's see.
All right. So here we go. I grew up in a house where emotions meant you either yelled or you left. Now I'm in my 30s, trying to figure out what I actually feel. But the words don't come. I freeze. Total shutdown. I feel like I don't have the vocabulary or the skills to maintain relationships in a healthy way. I feel like I need a course on Feelings 101 because I never got the starter kit. That makes me feel like we should do Feelings 101. Let's do that course.
Yeah, it's so much is in that because the shutdown makes a lot of sense. Thanks. You know, the growing up in a house where emotions meant you either yelled or you left. Like if we just sit with that, like it kind of speaks to like, there's just so much more. We think like emotions mean extreme, right? So like what the person is speaking to is when there was anger or frustration, there was like jetting or yelling. But there's other emotions too. But if you're on guard for that jetting and that yelling, if you're as a little kiddo waiting for it to happen, it's very possible that the other emotions gets missed.
Or missed or
Not
stifled.
And mostly
maybe?
Emotions come a lot in the way of attunement. So if you're a caregiver, your food giver, the people around you are sort of feeding you back of like, oh, you're happy and we're laughing. Oh, you're smiling. And now there's joy or there's a way in which we attune to know emotions and then to know the language. So having language to name emotions probably kind of comes after even you move out of the shutdown. So I can't really speak to the childhood experience because there's probably multiple things happening there. But I would say start with loads of compassion
Mhm.
for shutting down because that was a solid strategy.
Survival.
Right.
Yeah.
So we know that from our beginning episodes. So
Mhm.
there's that. I shut down and then we don't feel.
Mhm.
And it okay, great. So you're making sense.
Mhm. You're
Like
doing
it's
you're doing
working.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not supposed to like feel
Right.
like, oh, here I am feeling this emotion and let me articulate it with words. When you're in shutdown, you're not that's the point.
Right.
So well done.
Mhm.
But if you're no longer in that place and emotions arise, however they do,
Mhm.
then it's curious to me if we could start with something less big,
Less big as in
like
than anger or than
than like the big, like less big in the way of like how big it feels.
okay.
And we go to something a little bit more subtle. Um, if you could start to tune to just like pings of I'm checking out of the grocery store and someone smiled at me and I smiled back and hmm, there's that.
Mhm.
There's a ping, right? And then we go like, "Oh, here's a song." And
Mhm.
the song gets me kind of feeling something. I
Mhm.
don't have to name it, but I can sense something's going on, right? So we start very subtle with very low risk
Mm.
scenarios
Right.
to just notice here I am sensing something. Then we could move into something very simple like grabbing a feelings wheel off, and you can just print it off the internet, and it's like this wheel of feelings.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
and then you could move to words because you have your five emotions and there's like the eight and you go like, "Oh, that's joy. Oh, that's anger. Oh, jealousy.
Mm.
Oh, okay." And you can kind of start to get words.
Okay.
But we don't really we reach for words usually when we're trying to explain the thing that's up
Right.
because the person here is speaking to relationship.
Yeah.
And I think first we have to start with ourselves. And that takes time of like, what am I even feeling?
Right.
And I was I can intellectualize easier, and I can sense in my body things easier than I had words to. So
Right.
I really relate to this
Sure.
because I just didn't have the vocabulary.
Right. Yeah,
Then
and that's literally what they said. I don't have the vocabulary or the
mhm.
skills to maintain relationships in a healthy way, which, you're in your not you, but this person's in their 30s trying to figure out what they actually feel is their words. And there's nothing there. So maintaining, I can imagine, I'm thinking about any relationship that I'm in, whether it's intimate with my wife or whether it's familial or friendships, and going, if I wasn't able to at least recognize the emotions that are coming up, man, that's a hard, that
Well,
is very hard.
it is hard. And I would say getting into some support around
Mm.
this, like a podcast or, like uh, it's going to take a little bit and maybe work with the, moving out of freeze,
Mhm.
getting your heart rate activated probably,
Mhm.
um, and being able to have like a higher heart rate, like going for a walk. Right? So that when things get a little intense, you don't shut down because
Mhm.
you're used to having your heart rate up or doing something that kind of stimulates, doing jumping jacks and then sensing yourself. That would be like, how do I, and that would be in a supportive environment, maybe, or on your own.
Mhm.
Like, just work on the unfreeze, then move to like, oh, I myself am sensing something.
Mhm.
Okay, that's curious. Oh, I notice a shift. Curious. We're always staying curious with some compassion, right?
Sure.
And then moving into like, oh, now with a friend or with a coworker or with a stranger, I can sense some emotions,
Right.
some shifts. Then move into a feelings wheel, like, and being like, okay, now I'm going to get some vocabulary
Mm.
for what it is. And sometimes it doesn't have to be very specific.
Mhm.
I was working with a kiddo last week and I said, how's kindergarten going? And he did like the sideways thumb.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I was like, solid. Then I
Mhm.
asked about another thing and he did a thumbs up and a thumbs down and kind of like middle thumb.
Yeah. Mhm.
Sometimes it's that simple.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have to be like, there's a sense of, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be super
Oh,
nerdy around the
yeah.
emotions. It's like a, eh,
Yeah.
or a ouch
Mhm.
is how I feel.
Right.
Ouch. I don't know what else is here. But one thing we know is emotions don't last long.
Hmm.
They move quickly through us. So if we could just sense it,
Emotions don't last long.
and of course, on all of these like social media things, there's like all this like stuff like 45 seconds, like
Okay.
I don't know.
Right.
I know that it's here, it's a visitor, but it's the storytelling about the thing that makes it stick around.
Mm.
So
Okay.
then our meaning making mind says, "Oh, here's an emotion. Now let's write the story about it."
Okay.
Like da 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 da. And now we're kind of like stuck in that emotion.
Okay. So the emotion in and of itself isn't necessarily lasting long, but but you're keeping it
But the
around
meaning of
still.
it
Okay.
start yeah, like the meaning making of that emotion keeps that emotion around.
Classic example of something happens and first you might get a little angry. I don't know, someone
Mhm.
mistreated you or something like that. Then as time goes and you keep replaying it in your head, you keep getting angrier and angrier. Or you might go, I was not maybe looking at that the right way, depending on how your brain tells or retells that story. Is that
Or the real complicated hard thing is like, can I just sit with it?
yeah.
Whatever this middle of the thumb
Hmm.
is pointing,
Hmm.
like, can I until it kinda dissipates almost.
Yeah,
Now, I'm not saying that about everything, but there are
sure.
practices like, I do a great somatic dancing practice where the cueing the
I
whole
don't dance.
I know we
Okay, all
know
right.
this. I'm not gonna
As
have you
long as you
dance.
know.
I'm not gonna have you dance, but the cueing in that
Hmm.
time of that practice is like, stop making the story about it. Just feel the emotion, feel it in the body, feel the thing. Don't make a story of it. Now, there are times to make stories of
Sure.
stuff and to sit and stuff and figure it out. And where did it come from? And what do I want to carry forward?
But
That's
we're talking
different.
feelings 101 here.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
so sometimes it's just like be with that thing, whatever that thing
Hmm.
is. Um, but it does, moving down the path that I just said, like step, step,
Hmm.
step, step, step. Sometimes just getting a feelings wheel in front of you and being like, oh, those are the words,
Hmm.
right? And I'm saying feelings, and sometimes it helps if I'm specific to emotions,
Hmm.
and because sometimes feelings and sensations get intertwined like tight.
Ah,
You get what I'm
yeah.
saying? So
Hmm.
so if we're speaking towards emotions, it's a skill. And try not to be too hard on yourself because we're all bad at it.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
all learning
Yeah.
what we're just,
Mm.
we're not that many generations away from, you know,
Don't
this whole
feel
like
anything and
right, right, right.
bottle
Like,
it all up and don't
yes,
show
this whole
emotion,
like
don't show feeling, don't,
right.
or you're showing too much or you're not.
Yeah. So I would even say, man, it takes, and maybe my age is showing here, but and they're 30, so they're deconstructing some of the familial
Hmm.
patterns. That's right on time. We kind of go through that. At my age, there's another stage of life of like, okay, my parents are a little bit off the hook, and I'm tending to
Yep.
not their
Myself. Yeah.
dynamics, but the the dynamics in which I bring forward and I've
Right.
brought forward to work with. But at 30, that's kind of not the same
Yeah.
thing. It's a bit different. And you know, the heartbreak here is the story this person's telling themselves that they're not able to maintain relationship.
Hmm.
And when we have that story, when we run with that story, then sensing emotion would perpetuate, or not sensing it would perpetuate.
Mm.
You tracking? So
Yeah.
I would challenge the story, the meaning making machine with a
Hmm.
story, because the very nature of being alive is relationship.
Yeah.
We've talked about this with nature. So the bigger practice here would maybe be just to sit with a tree
Mhm.
And know that when you're breathing in and out, this tree is breathing in and out with you.
Mhm.
It's to connect with, nature. The nature of our being in this human body is relational. Like it's
Mhm.
wild that we have breath that breathes without us telling it to. And
Yeah.
then we can direct breath too. Like that's relational.
Mhm.
Like there's so many ways in which we experience relationship.
Mhm.
So to I would say, would it be okay if we kind of soften that story
Right.
that you're not good at relationship?
Right.
Because we want to, and we can always go back to the first relationship of being in the womb. Like there's ways to tend to that story so that you can make movement forward.
I wonder with this if that I hate to make assumptions about where this came from, but it says the vocabulary I don't have the vocabulary or the skills to maintain relationships in a healthy way. I wonder if that's like more of like the romantic relationship kind of. I know a lot of times when are you in a relationship with somebody, it's the automatic
Yeah, and
brain
I
trigger
kind of
kind of
guess I
goes,
was assuming that's what they meant too,
yeah.
and I should maybe have checked that. But you're right. Like,
Yeah, and I wonder if how much of a difference that makes if this person believes that they're having, the story that they've told themselves is that they're having a hard time maintaining romantic relationships because of the level of intimacy and trust and the
or
sharing of feelings and emotions and things like that, that maybe they are struggling to. I can't, 30s is a weird time, but like when trying to take things more seriously than the hand holding, making out behind the mall thing. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
and being more vulnerable about how I'm feeling. And then they're sitting here going, I don't
Wow,
even know
you
how I
know,
feel. So how can I tell you how I feel? And then
I
maybe
think
it,
you just really hit something important though.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
vulnerability and that I didn't speak to because it's true that it takes a huge amount of
Hmm.
vulnerability to speak to like what I am experiencing.
Hmm.
What are my emotions that
Right.
are here?
And I don't know if this is male, female, or otherwise that went through this, but as a man, it, I have in the past felt to where a reaction of almost defensiveness
Mm.
at times when someone's like, well, just tell me what you think, what you feel, what your emotions are, especially if it's somebody that's like, it's kind of coming on strong. And I don't know their situation, so I don't know what's going on, but and it's like, well, that's for me to know. And and like, I don't even know. So who are you to, try to pull that up? Yeah, yeah, and, like, trying to because it's uncomfortable, and now my knee jerk is to come out defensive, so I feel for this person because that has to maybe feel frustrating at times to just,
Yeah, and I
"Oh,
would
here
love,
we go again about the emotion stuff, I have to tap into this," like, yeah,
and there's it's so many parts in that
yeah,
question that are so important for
mhm,
this person to like sort of work out with a friend or with
mhm,
someone, a therapist or someone,
mhm,
to see because that's what we do. We're just like pulling this thread. But if we're looking at really just the place of getting to the vulnerability of sharing the emotion, but first I got to even feel what that emotion is.
mhm,
Let's just do something very simple for those who are tuning in is if you just like soft on your hand, rub your hand and start with the feeling of like, ooh, soft, itchy, icky.
mhm,
Yeah. And then move into like the thumb. Is it a thumbs up, a middle thumb, or a thumb down?
mhm,
Mm, right now, thumb down.
mhm,
You know, and then cool.
yeah,
So we're practicing in a non-vulnerable situation.
right.
We're getting curious. We're
Nobody's
building some simple
And
skills.
nobody's going to take my response and potentially misinterpret it as something that I didn't mean.
Right.
Because that's a
Right.
lot of times like, well, I'm feeling angry right now. Well, why are you angry at me? Are you, there's a lot of things with relationships and maturity of the other people that you're, going back and forth
Yeah.
with. maybe that's just where I jump from, because that has happened to me in the past
I know. I'm
where
projecting my emotion stuff onto this question too.
well, I think we have to a little bit,
Yeah.
but yeah, so just in what you were saying, in that small practice as a starter, as a, you know, the 101 homework kind of thing, you're not going to have to worry about that reaction from anyone but yourself, possibly. And then,
Mhm.
but you can
Mhm.
be a little more vulnerable with yourself with a little more safety. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And I'm going
and
to add on to that
please.
because sometimes we can sense it on the inside, but we actually have like a verbal processing situation comes up where I can't get the words out.
Hmm.
So when you start with yourself and doing this, and you might be like, oh, nice. And then you might say something like, "Mm, I feel odd." And then say it out loud.
Hmm.
Just practice saying what you're sensing out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if it's like weird.
Hmm.
Weird I'm doing this.
Hmm.
But do say it out loud by yourself. Because then we're practicing that verbal situation too,
Putting it,
because it's not just, I mean, there's so many steps to get to the
mm,
place of where we can take our emotions and make them into
articulate
words.
that. Yeah.
And then add a vulnerable person we're sitting across from.
Right. And managing how we're coming across to them and their interpretations of it and their responses to it. And I mean, that's
That's a whole nother
interpersonal
situation,
relationship
right?
regard. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and I would just check your, like, if I were to just be one other thing, is just like check your storytelling in general around our emotions.
Hmm.
If we go back to that, what we learned about the brain is like we have something that comes up and the brain files like things together and then the story gets played out. So if I'm feeling jealous, then every time I've ever felt jealous comes up and now I've got a picture, right? So now I'm storytelling and I'm thinking about all the times I've ever felt this, and now I can't get my words out to say "Bleh" at the person. So we really have to just go with like, okay, there's the mind showing pictures. Here's the emotion, and it's a little heartbreaking. You know. So it's a complex one because emotions are complex, fast, but complex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for that question. It's good.
Absolutely.
Solid.
Again, we are going to be taking as many of these as we feel we need to. If they're still coming, we're going to continue to touch on some of these things that you, our listeners, are sending in. And once again, you can send us an email if that's easier, mail.sowhatwhocares@gmail.com, or send us a message, DM us, slide into our DMs, and we will, of course, keep you anonymous, and we'll be back.
Cool.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you. And thanks to our listeners for tuning in. So sweet.